And here we go on our Wednesday edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Look, depending on when you are listening to this on Wednesday, maybe Jadeveon Clowney will be a Brown, but we're recording this on Tuesday. Mary Kay, kind of give us a real quick update on Tuesday. Obviously things can change, and then we'll kind of get into kind of what Clowney means for the Browns.
Okay, what I expect to happen by Wednesday is Jadeveon Clowney was scheduled to come into town on Tuesday night. As long as there were no mechanical issues, he was arriving in Cleveland on Tuesday evening at some point. And then on Wednesday, time for his physical. And as long as everything goes okay with the physical, he's coming off of a torn meniscus, then he should be a Brown sometime on Wednesday is my guess. I think it'll be a 1-year contract. I think it will be, there were two estimates. Spot Rack said he should be like 1 year, 6.5. And I think PFF had him at 1 year, almost like $16 million or something like that. I can't remember what theirs was. Theirs was way high. So I think it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $8, $9, $10 million for 1 year. So therefore, what that's going to mean is that you're kind of getting two for the price of one. Takk McKinley, Jadeveon Clowney. And if you look at it globally like that, if you can get two guys with a varied skill set and you can get some decent production out of them, I think it's a good deal.
Scott, I don't know if I've heard kind of what you think of the idea of signing Clowney and adding him here.
I think it's a good idea. You want to get as many good players as you can. When Mary Kay first wrote that Clowney was coming back, I started seeing these tweets about how the Browns are going to have this unstoppable pass rush now, and Clowney's going to take them to the next level. And I kind of laugh at that, because really, from a pass rush perspective, Clowney right now is basically Olivier Vernon. Like he's never had a season as close to Vernon's best seasons. Vernon had those back-to-back 80 pressure years, but they've both been over 9 sacks or had at least 9 sacks just twice. And remember, Clowney played 2 full seasons with J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was all-pro in both those years. One of them was 2018. Clowney had 59 pressures, which ranked 18th. And his pass rush rate, as far as pressure rate, was about 6.2, which is nothing special. That's basically what you got from Vernon last year. And had 51 pressures, ranked 17th, had 9 sacks. Clowney had 9.5 sacks that year. So it's basically kind of the same thing. I think where Clowney really sets himself apart from Vernon, where it's really an upgrade, is against the run. Clowney has gotten a run grade from PFF in the top 10 from like 2015 to 2019. That's where he's been like an elite edge player. It isn't really his pass rush ability. He didn't make the Pro Bowl just because he's a good pass rusher. He's a complete player on the edge. And not that Vernon was, a bum on the edge against the run, but Clowney gives you another dimension there, a much better player. And I think that's where the difference really comes from, and not that playing next to Myles Garrett is going to make Clowney a Pro Bowl pass rusher. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think the thing that's important too is, like, we need to frame this for what it is. Jadeveon Clowney is coming here to be your number 2 pass rusher, or, kind of in that platoon as a number 2 pass rusher. So he doesn't need to be Myles Garrett, right? Myles Garrett is already here. You're bringing in a guy to be your number 2. And based on some of those numbers you put out there, Scott, comparing him to Olivier Vernon, who was your most recent number 2 pass rusher. So, some numbers that Mary Kay, you and I talked about yesterday in those first 7 games with the Titans. They weren't amazing numbers, but they were good numbers. The amount of pressures he had, kind of where he was right there with J.J. Watt through the first 7 weeks in pressures, somewhere in the high 20s. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me. 3 batted passes, was creating some amount of pressure. For a number 2 guy, they were pretty good.
Another thing that McKinley and Clowney together give the Browns that I'm sure is attractive to them is the fact that they both have experience rushing from each side of the line. They're not just tied to one side the way Myles Garrett was earlier in his career. We saw Myles move around a lot the last 2 years, really last year especially. I think he rushed more times from the left over the first half of the season than from the right, which was a big change for him. So having guys who can also do that in McKinley and potentially Clowney allows Joe Woods to get a little more creative.
You guys are exactly right about this. And the very interesting thing about the fact that they are versatile and they can all move around. As you guys mentioned, Malik Jackson can rush from the interior position. He can play big end. So you are going to have pressure coming from everywhere along the line. And I think that's important. You're going to get good interior pressure. You're going to get it from both sides. And you can be really creative in the way that you line all these guys up. You can have, 3 guys on the line. You can have 4, you can have 5. I mean, you can just do so many things with them. But the key is that these quarterbacks are not going to know where the pressure is going to be coming from, but they will know is it's going to be coming. And I think that the Browns can be very confident now in the fact that they are going to affect and disrupt the quarterback in a very profound way, primarily with their defensive alignment, right? I mean, for the most part, it will be those guys, except for, when they blitz and do some other things like that, but they will be bringing it with those guys. And now they've just got like a whole cornucopia of different guys that can do different things up there.